Big Pharma doesn't want to have to deal in live plants anymore. It's too unstable. The shelf life problems, the transport problems, all of that stuff.
Oh, no. This is me being cynical.
Okay.
It's the IP problem.
And the IP.
You can't patent a plant.
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 You can't patent a plant. You can't patent a plant.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, where we speak the language of cannabis freely and uncensored while educating our audience on safe use of this live plant therapy. You should know what's in your cannabis, what's good and what's not, because cannabis does not come with an FDA stamp of approval, yet. The information you will find here comes straight from scientists and clinicians doing the work and reporting their findings in reputable outlets. Hopefully, we can inspire you to research the facts as we know them today. Cannabis is an amazing alternative in health remedies, with the potential to alleviate typical disease problems and troubling side effects, even those caused by synthetic prescriptions. Here now is the host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. She is a 21st century cannabis shaman, not a doctor, not a scientist. Raised by nuns and wolves in the verdant cattle pastures of the Oklahoma oil fields, here to amplify the truth of this great big story of cannabis in historical, political, scientific, and spiritual terms, so you can make educated decisions about the medicine you choose to ingest. Please welcome Honey Smith Walls.
And they would use it more if they had better education about it, but they're so clueless. They don't know where to go, who to talk to, what products to choose, how to choose, how to
want to make sure that they get stuff that's safe for them. Want to make sure they're using it safely. This is where, again, a doctor who knows about stuff can help you, right? And that's why, but you need to have doctors who know about stuff. You don't want the doctor who just goes, here's your medical card. Okay, don't tell me anything. Because, of course, then the other thing is, what do? You go to the dispensary and
let the bud tender sell you the highest high.
Right. And it's like, wait, no. I literally had a geriatric patient who had dementia. And there's some data out there to show that it can help with behaviors and dementia, where the family said, yeah, and they didn't ask me. I might have been able to steer them right. But they said, yeah, we went to the dispensary and got her some gummies to help with the behavior. See if she would help her rest a little bit more at night. And the poor lady, I have no idea what dose they gave her, what dose they sold her, right? You know,
what was in it?
The lady slept for a day and a half. Yeah. Needless to say, the family never gave her any more gummies.
Of course not. Unfortunately, they didn't know how to titrate or start low and go slow. And they had no fundamental background.
And a bud tender who's selling the high THC is like, well, gee, here's 10. 10 seems low.
Yeah. And my granny uses these. She liked these.
Right. Exactly. And so you cut it down to, and a lot of times a frail patient, I would say start at 1.25.
This is why we microdose, to find our sweet spot. This is educating the patient to use the plant properly. It's not like taking a pressed pill 3 times a day.
And that's where I want to educate doctors, because I realized I can talk to 500 patients. But if I can teach one doctor, that one doctor can talk to his 500 patients.
That's right.
Or more, as the case may be.
More, plenty.
And then there is, if I can expand that to doctors, and one, we get a little bit more acceptance and understanding of what cannabis is. So first teaching about the ECS, right? Yeah. And understanding that this is not just, drugs. It's not about getting high. Right. This is about situations where there's a receptor. And right now, cannabis is the best activator of that receptor we have. Now, a little bit of blasphemy in the cannabis world. Maybe someday Big Pharma gets their act together and finds something that works perfect for drug X. a new MS drug that, makes it get better and everyone has so much better effect. God bless it. I mean, there are.
We see big pharma.
Right?
We see them.
Yeah, but they haven't yet, right? They haven't yet. And so at this point, I'm like, the best drug we have for certain conditions is cannabis. And it needs to be treated as a drug. And we need to understand that there are people who benefit from it. Its role in the inhibitory of pain process, right? So there's actually some data to show that it chemically is working. There is chronic pain. So when someone goes into chronic pain syndromes, there's actually some data to show that the receptors on the spinal cord get messed up. There's some really nasty little feedback loop and something that it gets caught in. And that's why chronic pain is so much more worse. And I'm not talking like chronic aches like arthritis that constantly are showing up. That's a different. I mean like people with like reflex sympathetic.
I see.
Yeah. And or people who have an injury and then that pain never fully goes away. Chronic pain. Or sometimes the arthritis can become a chronic pain, but it's not like a condition of an inflammatory chronic pain. It's chronic pain. Gout. And people with chronic pain syndromes, that receptor changes in the spine. And there's some evidence to suggest based on, microbiology, receptor studies that cannabis, activating that receptor by cannabis might modulate it. And that's why, the data about chronic pain shows that it might help, right? And I say might help because it's so funny. Medicine. I'm going to get on my soapbox again.
Go for it.
Medicine has what we call evidence-based medicine. And again, I am a traditional doctor in the fact that I am like, yes, evidence-based medicine. I'm not pulling out this, and this just because, I think it might help. It's like there's studies to show we've done randomized controlled trials and stuff. But there is a bit of an extreme on this. There are people who will be, if there's not a study about it, I don't believe it. And I've been in the hospice space for so long. It's really hard to do randomized controlled trials in the hospice space because people are dying. And it's hard to do that. There's been a little bit of studies here and there, but we don't. So there's a lot in hospice we do, even though there's not a lot of data because every doctor, for the longest time, I think maybe now we're starting to get some studies about steroid use. But for the longest time, I'll use dexamethasone for certain conditions, bone mets, visceral pain, visceral obstruction. It's a steroid. It decreases swelling. So anytime swelling is causing pain or a tumor in the gut is causing bowel obstruction or pain, there's a theory that dexamethasone, we know it can help with brain tumors swelling, but other places, the data is really less there. But every doctor, every palliative doctor worth their salt is using it because we see it works. So, and there's no strong evidence. So there are things that sometimes don't have great evidence because no one can or will do the study. And that's where cannabis is. I think it's important to know the difference between the study shows it doesn't work to no one's done the study yet.
Right.
And when data, and so actually it's funny because the Cochrane, which is a group that they publish articles where they take all of the research and they have an established method to do a meta-analysis, to do research. And they come out.
Is that going to come out skewed about cannabis?
It does. But you know what surprised me? Because Cochrane's the type of thing that questions aspirin. Okay.
Well,
You know,
good.
it questions, right? It questions anything that doesn't have a lot of data on it. It questions, you know, and so
There's a
if
lot of
Cochrane says something works, it works. Right?
yeah.
And if Cochrane says it doesn't, if Cochrane says something, it might work, I consider that high praise.
Well, that's it, it's nice to have that kind of an esteemed reputation. But
No,
from
but
what I hear about cannabis research right now is that there is just so little of it that has any value because none of it's on humans, or very little.
exactly. Now, what's funny, the reason I set that all up was just to say that the Cochrane review of two things, MS said it most likely helps, or, or something like that. I forget the exact word, probably helps, or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, Cochrane said it probably helps.
Yeah, high praise.
That's high praise.
Yeah.
The other one that came out was chronic pain.
Oh.
And they said it possibly helps.
Oh.
I'm like, you know what? I'll take that from Cochrane.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is actually some increasing data about chronic pain syndromes and MS that shows that cannabis can help. But you're right. I do. This is where I do kind of break a little bit with, every doctor is going to have, it's a practice of medicine, right?
Of
because
course.
It's a practice of medicine. There's a lot of doctors who are much more comfortable with prescribing things that have only animal studies in them.
Right.
And I'm like, we have the world's healthiest rats because every cancer has been treated and cured in rats, right?
Right.
Every study has been treated in rats. But again, it's that kind of balance of trying to say, okay, what do we know? What don't we know? Risk benefit. And I really wish there was a little bit more of what's called shared decision making. So even in the evidence-based world of guidelines and stuff, there are things called shared decision making, or in cannabis, you might call it joint decision making. Right? The shared decision making is this terminology that's come when we don't have a lot of good data.
Right.
So a classic example is prostate cancer. This is a classic example of where the guidelines say shared decision making is essential, because it used to be a no-brainer. You would check a PSA to see how much of the level is, and above a certain level, you would check a man for prostate cancer. But checking a man for prostate cancer means doing a biopsy, and a biopsy causes pain and infection and all these other things. And then if they find a prostate cancer, they do a prostatectomy, which can lead to impotence and incontinence and all this other stuff. The problem with that is that they found that there's a number of men who have prostate cancers that would never kill them. They would actually just die of old age before the prostate cancer ever caused problems.
I heard that almost all men die with prostate cancer, not of it.
Correct. I have seen some people die of it, but you see, this is
a theory about that too.
Go for it.
All little boys ride bicycles, bouncing up and down on those testes for years and years and years.
Well, the prostate's not in the testes, though.
You're right. Duh.
So what it is the prostate is extremely sensitive to testosterone. And so, it's actually right around the urethra.
Right.
Where the beginning of the penis begins.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, I apologize if we're not safe for work here as I talk about that.
Spit it out.
Okay. So it's right there at the base of the penis.
Yeah.
Right. And it secretes some different sort of secretions and stuff to kind of help the sperm move a little bit better and stuff like that. And it's right around it. That's why when people have big prostates, they can't pee, because it squeezes that urethra as it gets big. Right. It can also be a sign of cancer if the cancer is squeezing it. But you have prostate cancer, a lot of, especially older people, I kind of view it, because we see it with breast cancer too. Old person cancer versus young person cancer. And follow me on this. When you're old, you have immunosenescence of aging. Your immune system goes downhill.
Yeah.
Your immune system, you're more prone to illnesses, you're more prone to sickness, because your immune system is aging just like the rest of your body. And just like your kidneys and your liver don't work as well, your immune system. That's why you need certain things like a flu shot as you get older, you know, a pneumovax and stuff, because viruses that wouldn't hurt a younger person could hurt you. You know, now what happens is your immune system also goes around and looks for cancer cells. And so if you're 80, a wussy cancer that a younger person's immune system would have just killed off goes, can sneak past.
Right.
And that wussy cancer grows slowly and it doesn't do much because it's a wussy cancer. So you have an increased amount of these wussy cancers, right? And so a lot of people have these cancers that grow but aren't going to metastasize, or even if they do, aren't going to cause problems. The other, whereas you see some of these tragic cases of women in their 30s, who suddenly have breast cancer way before we even screen for it. And they have aggressive, rip-roaring cancers that kill them in a year or two. Why? Because that cancer had to be strong enough to get past the immune system of a 30-year-old. And so that's my theory on it, that as a geriatrician and seeing the immunosenescence, I suppose if you grabbed an oncologist, they might have a different theory of like, no, it's because they have this, gene or this. And there's a genetic component too. Obviously, that younger person might have a genetic thing that also makes it more likely to sneak past the immune system.
Wow. Dr. Makela, this has been so fascinating.
I know.
I can't wait to see what your courses are going to look like.
Yeah, honey knows.
Hi, Honey Smith Walls here. I'm host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, weekly for the past 6 years. But today I'm inviting you to a Facebook group called the Holistic Relief Summit, in hopes that you too will come for the peace and stay for the epiphanies. It's a beautiful space for women to find all kinds of relief from all kinds of suffering. Come join us for free.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta-caryophyllene.
For years, I've been dealing with lots of arthritis pain and pain from neuropathy that has not been resolved through other prescriptive methods. As an advocate educator in the cannabis industry, I learn lots of interesting information about the compounds within the plants, and one of those turned out to be beta-caryophyllene.
What was your first dose like?
I was gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. It has given me my future back.
I want to get it out to everybody too. I want to get it out to the whole world, as a matter of fact. It has so many mitigating factors for all the stresses of life and pain and diseases. It is unbelievable, the spectrum of care that it can provide.
Wow. Dr. Makela, this has been so fascinating.
I know.
I can't wait to see what your courses are going to look like. And
I have to figure out, the biggest challenge is I need to figure out what doctors need to learn. So now I'm asking them, doctors, to come and tell me.
Ask the patients what they want to know from the doctors, and then ask the doctors what they think they need to know over those patients too.
Correct. And so right now what I'm doing is on LinkedIn, and I'd love a link to this if you see it, I am asking physicians to reach out to me to 30 minutes phone call. I'm not trying to sell them. I want their input on what do they feel like they need to know? Because I imagine what?
I'll help you with that.
I appreciate it.
Do you have a little video maybe that you've made?
I just posted it today.
Hot damn. Okay.
Yes, I just posted it today. If you could share that with physicians.
And I will start.
Because I need to get some physician input. Because right now what I'm doing is I'm creating the lectures. And as you see, I can go off. I can talk. And I want to make sure that I stay focused on
Big chatty Kathy, me.
The thing that physicians really want to know. Because again, I'm not trying to teach someone to be an endocannabinoid specialist. I want your regular PCP to know what they need to know.
Exactly.
But first, I kind of want to know what their perceptions are. Because if I have to overcome if I get a bunch of, cannabis is bad, I can't believe you're even talking about that.
You're going to
be having a slightly different lecture than, I got a lot of people who use it and they're all addicts. That's going to be another one. Or I have a lot of people who use it and it helps them. If I'm getting different feedbacks, that's going to determine kind of how I make my course and I'm not actually doing like a pre-recorded lecture. Everything's going to be a one-on-one, or maybe as it develops, I'll have some courses that people can join, but it's going to be personal because otherwise you can get that on YouTube. I want to know what matters to them.
Okay.
So
I'm tickled for you and excited because our doctors have to start learning this stuff. And so I'm thrilled that you've taken this under, your charge and are leading the way with it. And I totally agree with you. They don't need to know absolutely everything about the plant yet.
Right.
They need to know
just to know
their patients with it.
And maybe I'll save for the course talking about the rest of, I went off on the whole prostate.
That's okay.
I do that sometimes.
Sorry.
I was talking, the idea of shared decision-making, right? The idea that they've determined that younger guys with prostate cancer might be at risk. And so they need it. There's some studies actually that Black men in their 60s definitely should probably be screened. But there's this little debate about people in their late 60s, early 70s, and they use the word shared decision-making with the patient. That means we don't know, but you work out between your patient. And I personally believe that cannabis is the same idea. It should be a shared decision-making based on that particular patient's risks, benefits, disease process, what's going on. And so I want to teach doctors how to do that.
That's great because in my culture, and I'm 71, I was taught that if I fall down and bust my knee, I go to the doctor and let him tell me I fell down and busted my knee. And he's going to give me a script for it so I don't get an infection. I'm going to take that to the doctor, the pharmacist, and get a bunch of pills for it and take it for 10 days. And if I'm not better, I go back and let him tell me what to do next. This is different. Cannabis gives you autonomy over your health and wellness. And so I'm thrilled to hear you talking about shared decision making because I'm real damn picky about what I'm going to the doctor for anymore these days. I'm tired of that whole big pharmacy thing that's going on, who's telling my doctor what I should be having. And it frightens me.
There's, again, as a traditional doctor, I'm not going to come out and say, oh my God, Big Pharma's evil. I think Big Pharma has some issues that needs to be addressed, but that's different than,
Agree.
And then I also think that cannabis gets held to this crazy standard that we don't hold any other drug to.
Yeah.
I mean, statins, which again, you get a lot of people who are like, ooh, statins evil. Yeah. But statins have saved a number of people's lives.
Exactly.
People with really bad hearts, statins have saved their lives. Exactly. There's really good data. But 1 out of so many millions of people will get a severe rhabdomyolysis to the point that a rhabdo where the muscles break down. A lot of people will get achy and sore, and we say, okay, no, don't take it. But there's 1 out of, so many million will get it so bad that the muscles break down to the point that it causes kidney failure.
Mm.
There are people who have catastrophic reactions to every single medicine you can have out there.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that is something, but God forbid someone get a little dizzy when taking cannabis.
Right. I
I
talk about the woozies and cannabis to my elderly audience all the time and tell them that you can control THC. You never have to get high on THC if you don't want to, but you can
Right.
still use the power of it if you learn the fundamentals and alchemy of using cannabis with intention as a
right. Exactly. And so
all it is.
I had seen and there was a phase 2 trial. Man, I hope I see the phase 3 trial sometime soon on this.
Mhm.
It was the Strategize people in Europe sponsored. So, we got a little bit of big pharma money behind it, right?
Yeah.
But I can't hate it because it's showing some interesting things. It was people with glioblastoma multiformes, the worst brain cancer out there. Let's just say, as a hospice doctor, I'm very familiar with glioblastoma multiforme because people become my patients eventually, sadly.
Yeah.
The glioblastoma. So there was, my onc friends don't come after me if I say chemo because it's not technically a chemo. These new immuno drugs aren't technically chemos. They're immunotherapies.
Okay.
So, but the immunotherapy, the drug that was out there now, they did a study of the drug for the chemo for brain cancer and with and without cannabis with the sativix, right?
Wow.
So it was, and the people with cannabis lived twice as long in the study. And it was so profound. Again, I'm waiting with bated breath for that stage 3.
And that was Sativex?
Sativex. I said it wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's just an
I
isolate.
inverted my T and A there.
Right.
Sativex.
It's an isolate.
Right. It is an isolate.
Just
it's not even a
freaking compound out of hundreds.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of data to suggest that maybe the again, Sativex makes an isolate of THC CBD.
Yeah.
But even that, it didn't cure cancer. I mean, we've heard all these anecdotes of people with brain cancers who got better using cannabis.
Well, but they used high concentration
RSO or something like that, right? But to say that even a little bit, a whiff of Sativex was enough to make a difference in a study. I'm waiting with bated breath for the phase 3 trial of this one to come out because that's game changing. It was so big and such news that the British Medical Journal had to put an editorial to basically say, doctors, whoa, don't be giving cannabis to people just because and of course they listed, what did they list as the side effects? The dizziness, the giddiness, the dry mouth.
Yeah, God forbid anybody should be happy on their medicine.
Right. They list all the side effects of cannabis and say, because we don't know if we're helping them without all these other side effects. I'm like, do you understand the side effects of chemo? And you're like freaking, listen, I understand.
That's where big corporate is wagging the tail of the dog.
Right.
It's wagging the dog.
Right. And I personally, again, I get it. There are a number of stage 2 trials out there that completely failed. Heck, there are drugs that made stage 3 that once they hit the market started killing people and we had to take them off. I'm looking at you, Ramamavant. Right. I am. It made it past the trials and in Europe was approved, but never made it into the U.S. Right. There is a number of drugs that can make it to trials, but not. So yes, there is there's a reason to be a little bit cautious and say, you know what, let's not be saying stop your chemo and take cannabis. nor should we, be like, woohoo, it should be, again, this joint decision making of saying, you know what, you have an incurable brain tumor. There was a study to say that the chemo we're giving you might help, but there was a study to say that if we add cannabis, it might help. It might not, and you just might feel, but if you can tolerate the higher doses of it, if you can tolerate it,
well, your body gets used to it. Let me tell you that I took incredibly high amounts of cannabis, concentrated cannabis, for a tumor that grew over this tooth. And the tumor got bigger and bigger and bigger. It felt just like a little pimple at first. And then a few months later, it was, obviously getting more swollen. And then it was the size of a pea. And then it was the size of a kernel of corn. And my dentists were saying, oh, going to have to jerk all your teeth out, reconstructive bone surgery, blah, 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 blah. That's clutching my pearls and gasping, and I instantly started using lots of what we would consider Rick Simpson oil, FICO, really high concentrated cannabis oil for months. And when I started, it was just a teeny rice size, bit of that real thick, gooey black substance. And it made me woozy, and I was cautious for the first few days, and then I didn't feel it. And then I started taking more, and it made me woozy for a day or two, and then my body got accustomed until finally I was taking a large enough amount that tumor, I felt it die. It deflated one day. And I went back to the dentist and I said, something happened. I don't know, but something happened. And he put me in the chair and he said, oh, yeah, sure did. Hang on a second. I can just pop that little sucker out. He took a little utensil and plucked that thing out of my mouth and sent it off to the lab, and it was deader than a doornail.
That is crazy, but also not. And I mean, that's Rick Simpson's story about his skin cancer that he, and there is something to be said about that, which is why I'm like, anyone I love, this is where, again, the data's not there. The study's not done.
Not there, but we've got
someone I loved had brain cancer, had glioblastoma.
Yes.
I would be strongly encouraging them to take cannabis during their treatments. I would definitely say, and that is the thing about it, right? That's where joint decision making is an important thing, because we have all these questions not because it doesn't work, but because the studies haven't been done yet. And now, you know what? If there are studies to show that everything we knew was wrong and, a slam dunk, it makes everything worse, obviously I'll change, but that's not where the data seems to be going at this point. It seems to show that it.
Right.
And that's, and that's, as a traditional doctor, I think I can speak better to traditional doctors.
I'm sure you can.
About their concerns.
They'll listen to
their, because again, I'm not saying all of medicine is bad and big pharma is evil. No. I'm saying, hey, there's this little problem here with it. The ECS isn't being taught, and you don't understand that, And there's a lot of medicines out there that started off as herbals, Paxil was famously.
They're accustomed to big pharma dealing their pill forms and their elixirs, and it's, dealing in big pharma doesn't want to have to deal in live plants anymore. It's too unstable. The shelf life problems, the transport problems, all of that stuff.
Oh, no. This is me being cynical.
Okay.
It's the IP problem.
And the IP.
You can't patent a plant.
You can't patent a plant.
It's the IP problem.
Right.
I mean, and the times you do, and God bless them. I was at Benzinga and I ran into the Charlotte Webb people, right?
Oh yeah, love them.
And they patent a plant. They have their DNA, they have the Charlotte's Web strain is an IP that they own, right? And so they're working to make an extract to get FDA approval from it.
Right.
And you can't you can't patent an extract, but because their plant is patented, that's how they get their IP out of it. You know,
they are unique.
They are unique in that.
In this arena, right?
Yes.
And even our government has a patent on whatever it is about cannabis, and has since 2003.
Right. I mean, in Europe, there's a handful of places. Bedocam, I think, is the name of it. It's the Netherlands company that has patented strains of cannabis, and they are the only strains you can use for medical cannabis in certain areas in Europe.
My whole point about patenting that from our government is that you have to prove to the patenting office that what is happening is truthful and that, it's real and viable and blah, blah, blah. And so when our government did that way back when, and then still, doesn't allow the public to have access to it, it's very frustrating. It's
terribly frustrating that cannabis is illegal. I mean, it's craziness that there are states where people can still get arrested for it,
or that doctors can still have their licensure ripped away.
Or that doctors can lose their licensure for talking about it or
talking about it. Just talking about it.
Well, that's it. A lot of docs are terrified to talk about it. Yeah. This is why I'm like one of only a handful of doctors in the space that do talk about it.
Well,
because in Illinois, we now have recreational and stuff. And so I am a little protected, but
yeah. I want, and aren't you in Chicagoland area?
I am.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we're not that far. I'm up in Detroit, about 50 miles north of Detroit in Orchard Country. So,
nice.
Anyway, I do want to introduce you to some other of my Science-y tribe and the MDs that I know who are in the cannabis industry. And also I want to get you on my stage at the Holistic Relief Summit, because I created a space on Facebook where I can invite my friends from the cannabis industry who are medical professionals to come talk about all of this to Facebookville. But it's to a warm, feminine audience in my particular space.
That's nice. It's lovely.
Exactly.
And I'm a geriatrician, so like you mentioned a lot of your older patients too,
Exactly.
And I come through, when I only have a few seconds to speak, I will kind of point to the fact that palliative cannabis, right? That's an obvious touch. Yeah. But to be honest, I've actually probably seen more cannabis in my geri patients than I ever saw in my palliative.
Don't you love that?
All these old baby boomers.
Yes,
right?
We are.
The old baby boomers using it. And then you have more and more people. I mean, my mother doesn't use, but she called me some time ago and said that she was at some event and ran into two ladies who were using cannabis for their arthritis pain. And and she said, she decided not to, and that's fine. Plus I'm not going to out my
right.
But yeah, she's
thinking about it.
But the point was, she called me because she met in one day two people her age who were using it. And I think there's even data now. Recently, a study came out that showed that there's an increase in amount of seniors. One, again, you got these baby boomers, few older Gen Xers, right?
Or if they had better education about it, but they're so clueless. They don't know where to go, who to talk to, what products to choose.
Right. And I worry because you want to make sure that they get stuff that's safe for them. You want to make sure they're using it safely,
Right.
And you want to make sure they're not getting overdosed or getting sick on it or addicted, where it becomes pathological. And again, it's important, as I mentioned, the difference between someone chronically using and someone who's addicted.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Makela, how can this audience get in touch with you? It's been so fascinating to chat with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I geek out a little. I'm on LinkedIn I have my webpage, Janice Makela, MD.
Perfect.
I have LinkedIn under Janice Makela, MD.
Okay.
I also have a YouTube channel, Janice Makela, MD. You see a trend there. And Twitch even, because Twitch is canna friendly. I'm not on I just started Instagram, but we'll see. Insta's not, as you know, is not very canna friendly. But I have so social media.
Good.
But yes, so those
we're going to be telling everybody about you, and especially all my tribe of doctor friends who are trying to jump in, trying to understand.
Yes. And yeah, definitely. And like I said, right now in the next several weeks, I am trying to find doctors who have questions, who want to do this but don't know where to start, because I want to know what they need to know so I can build the program.
I want that link from you so I can shove it around. Okay.
Sounds good. It's my latest LinkedIn post right now that just came up.
Good. Okay. Well, we're going to run this episode pretty soon in the next week or two or something like that.
Perfect.
And then so you send me that link. I'm going to shove it around. We'll do a little promo about you and what's happening and get the word out a little bit.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Because that's,
that's what it's about.
That's what it's about, right?
All right, girl. All right. Well, I'm so honored that you could spend a little time with us, and I love what you're doing. I'm just so grateful that you're out there trying to help other doctors understand, because like I said earlier, it's going to have to come from the top down. The doctors are the one that the public trusts. So once we can get the doctors educated, the public will just fall right in line because of our
I think so. I think,
mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit of an uphill climb, but I think, especially as a doctor who came from traditional medical background, I'm hoping I can reach more doctors effectively.
Right.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you again, darling.
Thank you for having me.
Love seeing you. So much fun to hang out with you, and can't wait to do it again.
Oh, I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Pleasure meeting.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth Podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. Using cannabis mindfully as medication is a different concept in Western healthcare philosophy, specifically over the past century. There's a lot to learn and reconsider. The scientific truth of cannabis is finally getting out and is wide open for all to see at respected medical sites like the National Library of Medicine at pubmed.gov and the Journal of American Medical Association at JAMAnetwork.com. We here at the Cannabis Truth Podcast are right there in the thick of it, alongside the titans of medicine, as a fly on the wall. We are not doctors, nor did we go to medical school, but we have taken dozens of private cannabis courses and still engage in continuing education offered by expert cannabis scientists. Over the past few years, we slowly began to see and understand the bigger picture. Now we hear from people all day long about cannabis. It is so important to use verifiably safe products. The process of getting a diagnosis from your family doctor and taking your records to a cannabis specialist can lead you to the correct cannabinoid therapy for your specific issues. Otherwise, you're simply your own guinea pig looking for answers without the foundational knowledge or ability to determine your best strategy. To find a qualified cannabis expert in your area, visit cannabisclinicians.org. This is a national society of cannabis experts. Look for the link in the show notes. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you find value and understanding through the conversations you've heard on this podcast.
A quick shout out to Nathan Pierce and Daniel Rome of the 406 Budcast and their brilliant tech goddesses who created what you're about to hear next.
She walked in with wisdom and a fire in her eyes, talking plant truth where the silence lies. From the roots to the bloom, she saw the light. Now she's teaching folks how to heal it right. Not afraid to challenge the tale of lazy myths and a system that failed. She's got science in one hand, stories in the other. Lifts up the voices they tried to smother. Honey knows, honey grows. Truth in the soil and love in the smoke. Speaking for the elders and the ones left behind. She's the shaman of the leaf with a warrior's mind. Yeah, honey knows how the healing flows. From Florida sun to digital waves, she's breaking down fear with every word she says. Cannabis truth, that's her battle cry. For the mamas and papas still scared to try. She ain't selling hype, she's serving facts. Taking big pharma to school with class. With a mic and a mission, she lights the way for the lost and the curious every day. Honey knows, honey grows. Truth in the bud and peace in the dose. Teaching the plant like a sacred art. From the ECS to the beating heart. Yeah, honey knows how the healing flows. She's been burned by the system, lifted by the plant, giving voice to the ones who thought they can. A sister, a savior.